This segment is brought to you by JigMasters Jigs. When in doubt, get the jig out. Go to JigMasters.com and use promo code PNF20 and save 20% off your next jig order today.
Welcome to the Paddle and Fin Podcast Network. This is the final cast segment with your hosts Brad Hicks and Josh Eldridge, where we cast our final opinions on all products good and bad. Welcome to the final cast. Welcome everybody back to the final cast. I'm your host Josh.
And I'm Brad.
Tonight we have Sam Jones, our very own hero. Sam. I can't say your nickname. Jones. We'll just say Jones. I almost said
just
it.
Go watch Horrible Bosses. Isn't that what it's from?
Yeah. That's what it's from.
Yeah.
So we brought Sam on to talk about one of the companies he represents, and which is you're gonna do a lot of these with us, I think, in the long run.
Maybe.
Well, you don't have to, man.
No, I'm happy to be here, dude. I'm excited. I've got a little bit of a food coma right now. I'm not gonna lie. I just scarfed down some spaghetti after getting off the water, so. Yeah, I'm a little.
Well, Brad's over here suffering from acid reflux, so hopefully maybe you guys don't end up with some weird burping contest. And...
I was about to say, if you hear gurgling, don't mind me.
Anything is going to be better than Mr. Sniffles, Dustin Nichols, from
Good Lord.
the go live prior to the matchup Sunday. Oh, Saturday! What was it? Saturday night? Like every second.
He was a mess.
I missed it. I didn't get to watch it.
Oh goodness! It was. I mean, and I can relate because I have really bad allergies. I just take medicine usually. I don't know if he didn't have any or what, but it was seriously straight up Mr. Sniffles McNichols.
Way to go into the chat, change it right now. Sniffles McNichols. All right. Well, we are going to talk about Wicked Weights.
Wicked Weights,
a premium. Why did I just forget the name of it? Weight company. You know, why
Tungsten.
can I Tungsten? Jeez. And me and Brad got a handful of weights and all kinds of different stuff. We got jigs, just standard bullet weights, you name it. He sent us quite a variety of stuff to use. So Brad is jumping at the bit to talk about the Wicked Willow, which is a EWG style swim bait hook with a nice screw-in lock keeper, or bait keeper screw lock. Ugh, I can't talk tonight. Sorry, guys. And it's nice. I really like it. We'll start off with that since it's the one that we've mainly used.
Oh goodness, we could talk on that all night. We should probably start with the other stuff. No, seriously, Wicked Willow is awesome.
Yeah. I was really into how, because it's tungsten, as small the profile of the weight is. I'm a big believer sometimes when you hook set on a fish, if you're pulling a lot of lead, like especially with like an EWG style hook, that you can blow that fish's mouth open real easily and miss hookups that way. So that was kind of a nice feature in my opinion. Something else that I really like too is that the weight isn't, or the willow blade is not really far from the connecting point on that weight. I have a couple two packs. One's got Colorado blades, the other one's got willow leaf blades. They're the owner hooks that have them, and they're good hooks. But they have a wire that's probably about 1.5 inches long, and it puts that like kind of down and pretty low compared to where that bait is. And one day when I was out fishing with it, I swear I got bit like 20 times on it, but I think they were biting that blade every single time.
Yep. Absolutely. Makes sense. It does. I mean, I've had similar experiences with others. You know, you have that happen sometimes on spinner baits and other bladed style baits like it. So definitely a good possibility. You know, there's actually a lot about the design of this bait that we can get into, or this hook, if you want to call it, from that weight, like you talked about, from the pitch and angle of the blade, how close it is to the weight, the hookup ratio due to the way the hook is designed there, you know, and it's the ability to fish it in just about any type of cover is what's great about it. You know, I'll tell you, the Wicked Willow quickly became a favorite of mine and replaced a lot of baits for me.
Yeah.
It has become my main search bait. Flat out, it's become my main search bait. I almost to the point now where I don't even have a crankbait tied on at first. I have a dedicated rod to the Wicked Willow. It's the only bait that's ever tied on it unless I'm in a pinch and, you know, need something else. I've got a dedicated rod and reel set up for that. I usually fish it with a 4 3/4 inch swim bait, but you know, sometimes when I want a smaller profile, I'll fish a 3 3/4 or 3 1/4. But there's some other baits that I throw on there too that are maybe not thought of. So we can kind of get into some of that as well. But I'm not over exaggerating. We could literally do an entire episode on the Wicked Willow. No joke. It'd be easy to do.
I believe it.
So
Well, why don't you talk about some of the things you're talking about with the actual design of the swim bait hook with it? What's making it so successful for you?
You
in
know,
your opinion?
So it's hard to say, because when you look at it originally, it's just another underspin, right? What could be so special about it? And quite honestly, for a while, I wasn't really sure what it was. But I think one of the big features is something that you just talked about, how close that blade is to it and the pitch of it. But its ability to come through cover, I think, is its best asset. Whether that be grass, wood, rock, whatever. You can literally rip this thing in and out of grass like you would, you know, blade style baits and lipless crankbaits, jackhammers. And it comes through really, really clean due to the way that blade is, and that smaller profile of that weight. The hookup ratio is insane on it. So, you know, and were those things when it first was created that were thought of? I can't honestly say that they were. I think it's just, you know, a byproduct of this lure. You know, and it's a fan favorite for us. It's a customer favorite for us. And, you know, anyone that I've seen pick it up has been really successful on it. So,
yeah. What'd you like about it, Brad? Besides sticking monster smallmouth with it.
Well, yeah, that's my favorite part.
Dude, that was sick.
Dude,
that was cool.
That had me shaking for like 20 minutes after I caught that fish. But anyway, the thing I like about it the most is the blade placement. It's on the back of the weight instead of like underneath the head like you see a lot of them nowadays. Like,
or on the actual belly of the weight. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I like about it, though. The weight being, or the blade being on the back of the weight, like you said, it doesn't get caught on grass and rock or anything like that. I believe the bottom of the weight's flat too, right?
Yeah, it is. It's got a flattish kind of concave. So, and to that point, because I'll probably forget to say this, there is another thing that this is used for that people don't often talk about, and some people will be mad if I share this, but I'm going to share it anyway. This Wicked Willow is not just used subsurface. There are a few select anglers who are throwing buzz frogs with this and burning them with this bait. And it actually burns really, really well. You know, some underspins and swim bait, maybe tend to kick on their side or not track very well, you can burn this bait very, very well. If your swim bait's hooked up right, most swim baits, it works. So, but yeah, there's some guys throwing frogs on these and crushing them. So,
are you talking about something like the Zoom horny toad?
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly like the Zoom horny toad. Now you couldn't use like a big thing like a top toad probably, or like the BizBait's Pad Daddy. I have tried it with the Pad Daddy, and it does okay, but it's definitely going to excel with a thinner profile, lighter bodied frog like the Zoom horny toad. So
yeah. Dude, you just gave me some ideas because I want to try that now.
I'm not kidding you. There are some people within the Wicked Weight circle that will be very unhappy that I shared that. But
well, after watching Chad Hoover's videos of him using the horny toad on his rivers and catching smallies, I want to try it. Are they using like lighter weights?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So we came out with a handful of variations. So there was kind of like these set variations that we had for a long time, and we've started kind of playing with the variations because people, were really, asking for a lot of different things, and honestly, we never really have any issues keeping anything in stock except for these Wicked Willows and these different variations. We just can't keep them. A lot of times, but there's quite a few of them. There's an 1/8 ounce with a 3/0. I can't obviously remember them all, so I'm going to read them off. 1/8 ounce with a 3/0 and a 5/0. So that 5/0 is what you're going to be throwing that frog on that 1/8 ounce. You've got 3/16 with a 3/0 and a 6/0, a 1/4 ounce with a 4/0 and a 5/0, 3/8 with a 5/0, and a 1/2 ounce with a 6/0, which is killer for your big swim baits. If you haven't tried that yet, you need to.
Oh, dude. Oh, I want to go fishing now.
Yeah, I'm not kidding you, man. There are times of the year where that's the only rod I need.
That's awesome.
So.
Heck yeah, man. It's it's an awesome. Like I said, it's a really cool underspin. I used it. Probably a couple weeks ago in the river. I caught a couple small ones. I don't think the big fish had been there yet. It was kind of prior to Brad's epic couple past weeks when the smaller ones were kind of pushing up shallow, but the big ones hadn't gotten there yet. But I really like it. Like I said before, I think that it really does excel coming through grass incredibly. I got caught up. We have some weird kind of vegetation in some of the areas that I fish that are like flats for spawning areas. And it's like, it's almost like a bush, and this stuff, you hook into it, man, 9 times out of 10, you got to go get it out. You can't rip it from, underneath the surface. It stays there. It's really tough, really fibrous. And I was able to fish it through that stuff even. And, and normally anything you get stuck in there, it's stuck. You got to get it. So it's definitely, if anybody's interested in getting an underspin, check out Wicked Weights. It's definitely worth the money. And you guys, I promise you that you're going to love that underspin.
Yeah. They're only like $3 though, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not bad at all.
No.
Nope. $3 and they last too. You catch a ton of fish on them. It's got a great hook on it. They work. I'll tell you guys a crazy story before we move on to another product. I'll tell you guys a crazy story, and I'll tell you some other baits to throw on it real quick. So I've been fishing some of my local ponds, and they've had, bedding bass for the last 2 weeks on them. And I've got this one that I've been trying to catch. Not a giant, but it's just one of those things where it's been beating me. So I've just been going back, trying to catch it. And I've thrown everything at it. I feel like I'm a pretty good sight fisherman. I learned a lot about it in Arizona and got pretty well versed in it. I could not get this fish to go on anything, finesse or power. And I had, of course, my Wicked Willow rod rigged up with a 3 3/4 inch paddle tail swim bait, tossed it in there. one little twitch, and that blade flashed, smacked it, caught that
awesome.
fish, and went around to some other beds and just kept duplicating that. Just for nothing else they would hit, throw that in there, boom, they'd jack it. So it's even a great bedding bait, which is crazy.
So, you're just throwing and letting it sit there then, and then just one twitch?
Yeah, exactly. Just throwing it on the bed. They were either hitting it right then or one little twitch. I actually lost a good one, somewhere between 18 and 20 inches. Had it hooked up, no fault of the hook or anything like that. Just got it in some real heavy vegetation, and couldn't get to it in time with the kayak. Yeah, it just sit there on the bottom and just give it a little twitch and just enough to move it barely. And that blade just kind of flicker and they'd smack it. Wow. And honestly, that's the thing about this bait, like from burning it to slow rolling it on the bottom, hopping it, yo-yoing, you can fish it a lot of ways, just like you would a jig or any other type of bait, that's multi-purpose like that, like a jackhammer or something, spinner bait. Yeah. You can fish it a lot of ways. A fluke is excellent on it. Love throwing a fluke on it. Again, one of two things, either burning it on top or yo-yoing it in and out of the grass. I know guys throw Cincos on them.
Yeah.
I was going to ask about like a ribbon tail.
Yeah, I've not done it. But I'm sure it could be done. I mean, you could essentially throw anything on it really. Mm-hmm. But a fluke, a Cinco, I know is really popular. Single tail grub, has been fairly popular. The frog, and then obviously everything from paddle tail swim baits to your bigger, larger body swim baits that are out there on the market. So,
man, that's cool.
Yeah, it is cool. I love it.
So what other favorites do you have? Wicked weights wise, like
wicked weights. Yeah, man. I mean, it's really got everything from everyone, from really finessey stuff like nail weights and drop shot and that crazy thing people fish called a Ned head, to 2 ounce flipping weights and bigger. But my three favorites, and there's a new one coming into play, but my three favorites are definitely going to be the Wicked Willow, the Sergeant Shaky Head. That's like my 1-2 punch, right? In tournaments, I find my fish with my Wicked Willow, and I sit on my fish and jack them with the Sergeant Shaky when the Willow's not the ticket, or when I want to see if I can catch more than one fish out of a spot. I'll throw the Sergeant Shaky with a BizBaits Dizzy Diamond on it. Those are my main two, tournament practice and tournament day. And then we have 2 jigs. So we got the Combat Jig, which is a casting style jig, and the Patriot football jig. So I'll kind of lump those into one because, jigs are jigs. They have different purposes at different times. Both are great. The only 2 jigs I have in my box anymore, because the casting jig I flip and pitch and punch and swim it. And then, the football jig, I do what you do with the football jig. I drag it and stroke it. So, yeah. So those are my top 3. And then coming into be more and more of a deal for me is the new Sidewinder head. So, I really like that head. It's got a screw lock on it.
I'm really not familiar with that one yet.
It's a new product. It's only been out for a little while. We haven't advertised it a ton yet, to be honest with you. It was kind of a little secret. Yep, Brad's showing it right there. It was kind of a little secret within our circle for a little bit. It's great for really small swim baits. It's great for, you can even use it as a stronger Ned head. If you want to kind of do more of a power style Ned head rig. It's got some other applications as well, but I'm really starting to enjoy that. I know Jim was cracking some big smallies this weekend on it, throwing it with the BizBaits Ned Dizzy. bait that just came out. So yeah, that's the other one that's coming into play for me.
Josh, this Sidewinder looked like it'd be really good with the big Joshies.
Yeah, it does.
Yep.
Have to
I
try
actually
that out.
heard others throwing that. And another big favorite, I don't throw a Cinco or a wacky rig a lot, but the Clara head is another, customer favorite that we have, which is a weedless wacky style jig head. Again, tungsten, everything we have is tungsten. So that's been also a big one.
I'm not seeing that on the website. Oh, hold on. Here it is.
The Clara head. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, okay. I got you. That's different. So the weight, you tie it on, the weight's down on the hook, it looks like.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. The weight's a little ways down on the hook there. And
has a weed guard too.
Yep. Has a weed guard. Exactly. That's what makes it weedless. And it's just a great bait. Comes through the cover really well. Smaller profile again with tungsten, super sensitive. Catches fish. We've got a guy on staff, Steve. He's always jacking big fish on it. So we post a lot of his stuff.
But now I'm gonna have to try one of those because that looks interesting. I don't usually like to throw the wacky rig, but that looks cool. I do. I was gonna ask you a few things about the drop shot weight, because that's different. I've never seen a drop shot weight that looked like this.
Which one? So we've got two. We've got the grenade, which is like a teardrop style, and then we got the torpedo, which is a skinny drop shot.
So the torpedo, I know the teardrop is what I'm normally used to. I've used those before. I've never seen the torpedo before.
Yeah, so the torpedo, or more commonly known as a skinny drop shot, it's just a different style. Now, there's varying opinions on which is best for which scenario. I think most people, when they think of the teardrop, they think of hard bottom, and when they think of the torpedo or skinny drop shot style, they think of more like the grassy cover, type situation. I pretty much only throw the torpedo really. And I don't drop shot a lot, but I pretty much only throw the skinny. And for some people it's the opposite. But
you go over a little bit how you rig that, because it looks like it has like the wire at the top looks like it comes up like that and then it tightens.
Yeah. So
how exactly are you using that?
So there's a couple different ways, right? I think the original concept of this was it creates a pinch point. So you basically just run enough of a line through and pull it up into there, and it creates a pinch point. So if the hook or the weight, if the weight gets stuck on something, you can just kind of pull enough and it'll pop off, and you don't have to break the whole thing off. Typically what I do is I run my line through the opening. I tie an overhand knot or two, and then I pull that up. It just gives me a little bit more, because I think when you just use it the pinch point style, where you're just kind of pulling it snug in there, I think it sometimes comes off a little too easy. Whereas with the little knot, it still has room to break and come off when you really need it to, but you can kind of pop it out of cover sometimes a little easier. That's just my opinion. Again, there's a lot of different styles. Some guys actually just tie a knot on them,
Yeah, that's why I was going to throw it and try it out before we did this episode. I didn't get to, but I was like looking at it. I don't know how to tie this on.
Yeah.
I was confused.
Yeah, just run your line through the opening there and cinch it up, and there you go. Or tie an overhand knot and then cinch it up on the knot. So, yep.
You got to be careful. When you do that, if you kind of pull up too tight, sometimes it'll break your line too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you just pull enough to where it's snug, and then it does the rest.
I got you.
Something that I did try out that I thought was pretty awesome. I didn't really fish with it. It was more of a test, and I really thought it was pretty awesome how easy it was to skip with the tomahawks.
Yep. Yeah, those are sweet.
I mean, and I was kind of messing around to see like what I could skip, and that thing makes baits that don't skip. Like I tried to skip a swim bait, and it skipped. You know, wasn't great, but it does, you know, give it a couple hops. So I can't imagine seeing how easy it would be to skip like a Senko underneath a dock with that.
Yeah, again, I think this is something when we originally brought it out, we had no idea how great it was going to be. You know, I don't fish beaver style baits a whole lot, because I don't stay shallow and flip too much. But there is a time and a place when I do, and man, I tell you what, you pair this thing up with a beaver, you know, style bait, creature style bait that's flat, and you can skip it a mile, even if you're not great at skipping. It really does well, and it comes through grass and cover really well. So we've got some lakes here close to me that, I mean, they're just grass from top to bottom, pretty much. There's no weed line. It is just grass during the summer, and you can go out there and you can just throw that thing right in the mess of it, bring it in and out, and it comes out clean, and catch a lot of fish doing that, where otherwise the only thing you could throw is a frog or some type of topwater toad.
Are you pegging those weights too?
Always. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Now,
dude, that's my style of fishing. I'm gonna have to try it now.
Okay.
Brian,
cool.
You would like place, you know how like Cowan has like the really bad trees that overhang, and you could see like a good like 2-foot depth water behind it, like, but it's a pain to get it. That thing, dude, you'll be able to skip that thing back in there easily.
Yeah, I know some guys on staff and some customers have switched over completely, primarily to using these in the weights that in the sizes that we have them available. It's the only thing they use on most the baits they throw. I personally, like I said, I really only use it on the beaver or any type of bait that I want to come in and out of the cover really well, like the grass particularly.
Yeah, I would be throwing a stick bait like the Strike King Ocho or something like that with it in grass.
Yep, absolutely.
That's my one of my favorite ways to fish, man. Texas rig worm in the grass. I love it.
And that's something that we've really tried to do. You know, the company, the owner, Jim Sperone, is based out of New Jersey, Northeast. You know, a lot of finesse, a lot of smallmouth fishing, but I mean, a large percentage of our customer base is in Texas, and we've really tried to cover the gamut from ultra finesse to power techniques. We've tried, basically, honestly, our goal at Wicked Weights is to be the largest supplier of tungsten products. If you can make it in tungsten, we want to have it in tungsten. And we're working our way towards that. You know, we're constantly adding new stuff to the product lineup. You know, we added split shot weights recently, the Sidewinder. We have an ice fishing jig. I know we're out of that season now. The Ned heads were recently added over the last few months. And there's more coming.
Jeez. Yeah, I think that's what I like about Wicked Weights is that it's all tungsten like that. And I actually didn't know the Willow was tungsten until a couple weeks ago.
Yep. None of the products we sell have any lead in them. You can use them in all 50 states, and they're all completely lead free. So
one thing I did try the other day, fishing with a Kitech swim bait, was the tungsten nail weights.
Yeah.
So I was kind of trying to get the effect of the bait kind of nosing down. But I really like EWG style hooks just because you can throw them through, you know, especially on a swim bait, you can throw them through a lot of cover, a lot of grass without, you know, getting snagged up. But I wanted to be able to nosedive that bait as it was coming back, because I'll yo-yo that a lot of times. Like I'll let it hit the bottom and jerk it up and let it come back down. But you know, with a lot of belly weighted style hooks, you're just going to get that kind of flat drop as opposed to the nose down, and it it definitely worked well, man. And it's cool because you just make the whole profile of that bait even more sleek and less snaggy, and comes through cover really well as well.
Yeah, the thing with nail weights that I always had and maybe I was doing something wrong, but with the traditional lead style ones, I'd put them into my bait and they'd really kind of like tear my bait up or make them weird or bulge them out or something like that. With these, they're so small, you don't even know what's in there. It's like a needle point going in there on most of those sizes, which I think is awesome. So
yeah. Have you tried that yet, Brad?
No, I haven't tried the nail weights at all. I haven't even tried like the Nico rig or anything.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of cool like ideas that you guys are coming up with. One of the things that catches me every time is the names. Where are you guys coming up with these names?
Yeah, Jim is a veteran, and he's just a Jersey guy through and through. So very early on, the military theme became a part of the brand, and what we do. It's not just in the names of the products, but you see it in the descriptions. It's just got that little bit of that edge to it, like with the logo, it's like a tattooed koi like fish, So yeah, very early on that was the thing, and we just continued to use some of the jargon that you would see in the military, and then that's kind of where it's come from. All along the way. So, with the tracer worm weights and like again, the grenade and the Clara head and torpedo weights and tomahawks, we just
the hog shed.
Yeah, we
hog's head.
The hog's head. Yeah,
it depends on how you want to say it.
Yeah,
I like hog shed.
The hog shed. Yeah. That's now I'll tell you the funny one is the Ned head. We nickname it the Wicked Ned. There was a couple different ways we could have gone with that one, but Ned head is just so iconic at this point, or it's just that it's what everyone calls it. So, but we nicknamed it the Wicked Ned. But other than that, it doesn't really have a military-esque name to it. So,
how long have you been with them?
Almost since the conception of the company. I don't generally do like the typical pro staff type thing. Wicked Weights reached out to me very early on and asked me to be a part of the team, and I did. I went for it. And then early on, I started doing some photography and like graphics works, and this is before I had any idea what I was doing. I just knew it was something I enjoyed. And honestly, Wicked Weights has been a platform for me to build and grow into what I do now. But it's been, oh my gosh, like 3 years or more. I don't know. It's been a little while now. But yeah, early on just was a staffer, and then took over social media, and then took on a larger role. Started working hand with Jim Sperone, the owner, and honestly, he's like a best friend to me now, and we talk almost every day. Not even business stuff, just he's a great guy, and he loves Wicked Weights. So
that's cool. That's a cool story, man. I like how you've worked your way up like that.
Yeah, from a pro staff standpoint or a partnership standpoint, I've always tried to get really involved with the companies that I work with in some basis. I've never wanted to be the guy who was just on the staff getting a discount and making a post here and there. For me, I'd rather just pay full price than that. I enjoy getting in and getting my hands dirty and making an impact in some way. I've got a fair amount of partnerships now. At one time, I only had a couple, and it was Wicked Weights and it was TRC. And both those companies are the same thing. I just try to have a larger hand in the whole thing, and it's really been what's kind of boosted me into the current roles that I have. So.
Heck yeah. You want to kind of elaborate on how Wicked Weights got started?
Yeah. It's kind of a, typical American small business story. Jim, again, New Jersey guy, fishing out in out there, Candlewood Lake and those places out there out east, and he saw a need for tungsten at an affordable price and something that was quality. So he started going through and trying some different tungstens and testing them. He actually, he's got like a metal guy, took them to and was testing the quality of them and stuff like that. Started selling them to his buddies at the ramp. Never thought it would be a business of any sort. Just, he wanted to have good tungsten for himself at an affordable price and hook up his buddies. And then, it wasn't long after that things kind of blew up and people wanted to be a part of it. And so he went and got a website and got a staff and, slowly grown the thing from there. So.
I was going to talk about the differences between tungsten and lead, because there's guys out there using lead still, and they're like, I'm not paying that much. I don't really see the difference in it. And I've used both, and I've switched over to tungsten last year, and it's incredible.
Yeah.
I don't know if you touch on that a little bit.
I do want to touch on that. And I also want to say that that is the great discussion to have. There's also a discussion to have about tungsten versus tungsten, because there is a misnomer out there that all tungsten is the same and all these tungsten companies are selling the exact same product. And though, yes, tungsten is only mined in a few places in the world, and most of it comes from China, there are vendors and there are people who are selling tungsten that is not equal across the board. So I'll touch on that briefly, and then let's get into that lead conversation, because that is a bigger conversation. So there are a lot of companies who are, there are some, I'm not going to say a lot. There are some companies that are out there pushing product as 97% tungsten, 5% nickel, or, some random ferrous metals that have probably never actually tested their metals. One thing I can tell you is that's what we've done at Wicked Weights. We know what's in our product. There are also a lot of companies who, whether knowingly or not, are selling tungsten that is a resin or is coated with tungsten. It's lead, and you can tell the difference, guys. If you put tungsten in a line from multiple different manufacturers, you can do density test. You can do size. You can see the size is different. Now, of course, some of that is because of molding, but there is a difference between tungsten, and there are great tungsten companies out there. I'm not saying all of them are bad. There are a lot of great companies out there putting out quality product. Okay. We pride ourselves in having a large selection of quality tungsten, and we're proud of that. But the bigger conversation and the question you asked is the difference between tungsten and lead. So the biggest difference is size, right? The size of the product, because tungsten's much denser than lead, much denser than lead. So lower profile, is always better in most cases when it comes to weight, right? The other thing that makes it different is the sensitivity. So with it being much denser comes better sensitivity. To add to that, one thing that we've done with Wicked Weights in all of our worm and flipping weights, so in the tracer and the mortar bomb, tracer being the worm weight, mortar bomb being the flipping weight, our line hole diameter is the same from the smallest weight to the biggest weight.
Okay.
All right, which is unique. Okay, you're not going to find that anywhere else. And what's great about that is, one, when you're throwing a 2-ounce flipping weight, you can peg it with a typical bobber stop. Most brands, a bobber stop will just pull all the way through it. When we do shows, we actually have a demonstration where we show that. With ours, a bobber stop, it's going to stop right at the top there like it should, like it would on a smaller weight. It also helps with sensitivity. So, yeah, size and sensitivity, right? The other thing is sound.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people don't think about that one.
Yeah, I didn't.
So if you grab a lead weight and you grab a tungsten weight and you tick those on a piece of metal, you're going to hear a difference in the way it sounds. Now, do fish care? I don't know. I've been using tungsten for a long time. I've not done a true comparison in a while, but I think there's something different about the way it sounds. And maybe that tends to lead to more bites. Maybe it doesn't. I'm not sure. That's up to you to find out, on your waters, but through your experiences. But it does. It makes a different sound. It's a little duller, and I think it makes a big difference. So.
Yeah, I was going to touch on that sensitivity thing. Man, it's incredible what the same ounce weight in tungsten does for you that like a lead quarter ounce, comparing the two. It's insane how much sensitivity difference there is between the two. And I don't think people realize that. First time I used it last year, I was feeling every weed just pulling right through these weed patches, and I'm like, I'm missing out. This is crazy.
Yeah, it opens up a lot for you. You don't realize how many bites you miss. You don't realize when you're able to feel every piece of cover, every tick, you're able to envision that bait in the water, right? And if you can envision that bait in the water, you have a better idea of what it looks like and what it's doing down there and how fish may react to it. So when you feel that little stick that you otherwise wouldn't have felt, you stop there for a second, right? You shake it, you hop it right there, because that's where a fish is more likely to be. Versus with a lead weight, you would have probably never felt that. You would have never felt that little tiny piece of grass that's on there that you need to pop off there. There's a lot goes into that, but also those really tiny little light bites you otherwise might not have felt, you'll feel because of the density of those weights. And the other thing about it with the size, it's when you take that size down so much, then we're able to do the cool things like we're doing with the Claire head, with the weightless or the weighted wacky style jig head, still keep a really small profile. Large shaky heads, like a 1/2 ounce shaky head, is the size of a 1/4 ounce lead head. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Or even smaller maybe. So, and the teardrop and the Ned heads and stuff. I mean, our Ned head is so tiny, tiny. It's crazy.
Nobody else is doing the tungsten Ned heads right now, are they?
There may be a couple other out there. Honestly, I'm not 100% positive.
That's interesting.
Something you did mention too, which I think is important to kind of point out, is that the environmental impact of tungsten versus lead. We've heard time and time again how much lead is in the water just from manufacturing itself, and the fact that you've got millions of fishermen all over the world that fished with lead for so long, and it's nice to see that tungsten's taking a turn in for popularity. Because it's important. I mean, you just think about it. How many times have you snagged and lost a bait and that's just floating? And, and like you said, the density for tungsten versus lead. So lead's going to break down eventually quickly versus what tungsten does as well. It's not going to have nearly the impact, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah,
You know, and
tungsten's not breaking down.
yeah,
That's the thing. And some states are going to lead free laws. You know, you're not able to throw a lead bait, anything with lead in it.
yeah,
And I think that's going to continue to spread throughout the country, to be honest with you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
gonna
go ahead. I'm sorry, Brian.
I was just gonna share this real quick. My wedding ring, it's actually tungsten, and when they were selling this to me, they were asking me what my job title was. I told them construction. They're like, all right, you want to go with tungsten, and because this stuff will shatter before it pinches. So I just going back to what Josh was saying, breaking down. I know lead's softer, it'll dissolve quicker, over time. Tungsten's not gonna do that.
Yeah.
Nope.
And also, though, for people who have kind of been on the fence in regards to tungsten versus lead because of the price, I guarantee that you'll probably lose more lead and either A, match the cost of what tungsten is or actually exceed it eventually. That's just my opinion because we've talked about so many benefits in regards to using tungsten. And, you know, the biggest one, I think, what people get attracted to once they start using it is the small profile. You know, when you bring down the size of your weights, it's going to come through any cover a lot better, like we've mentioned before.
Right.
But on the side note, you know, I've talked to people who make baits, and you know, the biggest thing that people need to understand is that tungsten is not easy to make. Versus like what lead is. Like you could go start making your own lead jigs in your house, but that's a nasty metal. You know, it's harmful effects on the environment and actually on human beings is well documented. And to make tungsten takes serious heat. It's not like you're setting up a tungsten shop just really that easily in your basement to make this stuff. So,
Yeah.
you know, that's where a lot of the cost comes from. Like the molds are probably the same for the most part, you know, like a mold is a mold, but when you deal with heat like that, you know, does it take a different type of mold, or are you guys able
No,
to still inject same kind of thing lead would be in?
Yeah, very similar. As far as that go, now it is at a much higher heat, so the molds have to be, you know, rated at that. But so you're right, it's not as easy to make. It's also one thing to keep in mind is anything that has a hook in it, you cannot mold tungsten around a hook because tungsten burns at such a high heat, you would actually melt the hook. So what has to happen is you have to mold the tungsten, and then you have to mold it with a slot. You have to put the hook in and then solder. So anything with a hook in it takes even longer, is even harder to produce. Yeah. And tungsten, because it is a rare metal, is just more expensive already. Yeah. So there is a lot that goes into why it's more expensive. Now, what I can tell you, though, at Wicked Weights, we've tried really, really hard. Again, Jim built this on the idea of having a cost-affordable option for himself and his buddies. And that's continued to be the same throughout, even to this point, as the company's become larger and a nationally recognized brand, we've still tried to keep our prices as low as possible, and keep them lower than the competition. Because again, you know, Jim still works a full-time job. This isn't a huge company, you know, racking in the bills. Like it is still at its essence, this small company just trying to get a quality product out to fishermen at a decent price. Yeah. So, you know, yes, it's going to be higher than lead, of course, but you shouldn't lose as much of it. Like you said, it's going to improve your fishing. I mean, hands down, the evidence is clear. It's out there. And, you know, it's definitely a little harder to make, but it's worthwhile.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to mention, you guys probably have the cheapest prices out of tungsten I've seen.
We try to, if there's a lower price out there, I mean, let me know. If there's a lower price out there and it is the same quality of what we have, I would be surprised. Honestly, I would be surprised. Now, can you find cheaper tungsten? Probably. Is it going to be 97%? Is it going to be quality stuff? That's what we have to find out.
Yeah, I've bought lesser quality tungsten for like a 3-piece worm, bullet weight or something for like $9. You guys are almost half that price.
Yeah, no, I know. I did it for years too. I mean, I was one of the first to jump on the tungsten bandwagon.
Yeah.
Before it was popular, I was throwing tungsten, and I spent a lot of money on it. And far lesser quality. So.
Yep.
Well, Sam, I appreciate you coming on and talking with us tonight. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
No, I appreciate you guys having me on to talk a little bit about Wicked Weights. The only thing I would add is, look, the stuff that I'm talking about is stuff that I use on a daily basis. I know it works. I've seen so many other people, the success stories with running the social media. I get the messages, I get the pictures, I get the stories. So I know it's a product that holds up. I know it's a product that works. Check us out, wickedweights.com. You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Again, Wicked Weights on Facebook, and then at Wicked Weights on Instagram. So pretty easy to find. Check us out. If you're listening to this, feel free to try us out. You can use code SJ10. SJ10 get you 10% off on your next order with Wicked Weights.
All right. Anything else you want to add, Brad?
If you're not using the Wicked Willow, you're wrong.
Brad's hammered some big smallmouth with this bait. Like, he's pretty stoked. So,
I've learned a lot from fishing with you over the last year, fishing Kitech. I actually got away from Kitech up until last year. You got me back into it, and I'm addicted again.
Yeah, I mean it's a bait that works, and paired with the Wicked Willow, it makes it even better. So, and if you're like me, I'm not a huge spinnerbait guy. I've never really liked them. It's just not my cup of tea. I've fished it and fished it and fished it, and just hasn't produced. And I got into throwing swim baits, and then I started throwing underspins last year. And when I saw that underspin, I was pretty stoked about it, when you sent us that package. So it's definitely something you guys should check out, because in my opinion, I think the underspin with a Kitech or any kind of like plastic swim bait really is a great search bait, and in my opinion, you could throw that thing into the grass so much easier than like trying to pull spinnerbait through it. I mean, people do it, but I think you could go deeper into the grass than you can with the spinnerbait and some of the other ones. And even with, like, say you're kind of, the fish are a little finicky and they're not really enjoying the noise of like a lipless crankbait or whatever, that's a good option. A little
more subtle. Yep. And anytime they're keyed up on really small bait fish, minnows, anything really tiny, that blade mimics the bait, your swim bait mimics, the larger fish chasing the bait, and the big bass want to crush it, so.
Cool, man.
Brad's so happy right now. Look at him.
Dude, I'm hoping it rains tomorrow so I don't have to go to work so I can go fishing with it.
There you go. We should have like a Wicked Willow.
You've got to just send him a shirt that just says Wicked Willow.
Hey, I will tell you, we are working on a Fish Wicked apparel line. And we may just have to do that for Brad.
Heck, dude, I will wear it every day.
Every day. Got it. All right, I'll make it happen for you, buddy.
It just says I heart Wicked Willow.
That's great. I'll have it available soon. Check back.
All right. Well, we'll go ahead and finish up with that. We just want to take, the time to thank everybody for listening. As always, check out our website, our media, Facebook page, Paddle and Fin. We're in the middle right now of doing the Spring Madness bracket tournament. And so keep joining us. You're welcome. I busted your brackets. Everybody. There's so many people that are probably like, what?
Oh my goodness. I think the only matchup that has gone to what the large majority thought would be JP and Sean and Dustin and Susie. I think everything else has been like upsets. So
I got to keep the streak going. I got Josh Smith next.
Ooh.
Josh versus Josh, man.
I like it. J2.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it. Who do I face? Anybody know? I don't
know. It's going to be Brian versus Susie. So you're going to be going against Sean, maybe?
Okay. All right.
Or Ricketts.
It can't get worse than last time. So I'm hopeful.
You just won't be going to that same lake again, will you?
No, I will not. Never again. Burn me.
All right.
Shame on me.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. And y'all have a good evening. And take care.
See ya.
Deuces.
Go check out the website, guys. Paddle, the letter N and fin.com. Also check out YouTube. youtube.com/paddle and fin. If you got a question, comment, want to hear from a future guest, feel free to email us at paddle, the letter N and fin@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on social media. We're doing giveaways, announcements, things like that at Facebook and Instagram at Paddle and Fin. Shout out to our show supporters, Rocktown Adventures, Leveling Canoe and Kayak, Hammered Lures, Fish Mob Lures, TRC Covers, Ketch Products. Go to ketchproducts.com. You can put the Paddle and Fin logo right on your catch board. Don't forget to go over and pick up your JigMasters Jigs. Use promo code PNF20 and save 20% today. Don't forget to rate and review the podcast on whatever platform you're listening to. It helps grow the audience, helps others find our podcast. So please drop a 5-star rating in on the podcast platform you're listening on. Don't forget about the recycled plastics program, you guys. Take your used plastic baits, put them in an envelope, mail them to the address in the show notes. Our man Eric Richards at Hammered Lures melts those down, makes new baits, and donates them to various chapters of Heroes on the Water.